Howdy, y'all. Today we are going to be talking about Texas education and oil. So, generally speaking, in the US, rural states and particularly southern states have very low average education levels, and Texas is very, very much not an exception to that, mostly. So, Texas has the second highest percentage of residents with no schooling at all, including elementary, and the second highest percentage of residents without a high school education. That's what you can see over on the left there. But there's a sudden huge jump between the percentage of residents with at least a high school education and a percentage of residents with at least a bachelor's degree. As you can see, that's Texas over here, halfway down. Suddenly, something huge happened between here and here. And mostly, it was the oil boom. In January of 1901, Spindletop Hill started gushing oil and changed Texas's historical trajectory. It experienced a huge boom in economy and the population. Basically, it was a black gold rush. People were coming from all over, including all over the world, to try to get a little bit of oil money. More money in general in the state helped education some, but the higher population made it complicated. It was all tricky. So the University of Texas was started in 1883, long before the oil boom, and unfortunately it was locked into only getting money for buildings indirectly from something called the Permanent University Fund. And buildings were miserable, literal wooden shacks. At one point, the governor of Texas said, "To the average man who sees the miserable-looking buildings at the university, it would appear that the state is making an effort to store up hay instead of to store up knowledge." And it was because it was locked into the Permanent University Fund. It was founded in 1858, and by 1883, it had more than 2 million acres belonging to it out in West Texas. But it basically only got money from cattle grazing. Not from the cattle themselves, just from people paying them to let them graze their cattle. The land had actually been rejected by a railroad company. The Texas government offered it to them, and they said no, it would cost more to survey than it would be worth to us. In 1900, the Permanent University Fund yielded $40,000. Not even just $40,000 that the university got, total $40,000. But then Santa Rita, the patron saint of the impossible, there was an oil attempt they tried to get oil over on that land in West Texas. Finally, in 1923, it blew in. By 1925, PUF got $3.85 million from oil. By 1927, the profit was growing by $250,000 a month. And suddenly, the universities changed. In 1933, the University of Texas system finally got usable access to that money, and by the end of that year, they had 10 new structures and no shacks. By 1935, they'd spent $14.5 million on buildings in Austin, a medical branch in Galveston, and an observatory near Fort Davis. And please recall, this is for $14.5 million in 1930s dollars. By 2019, last year, the assets of the PUF worth about $23 billion, making UT one of the top 3 richest university systems in the US, basically only following Harvard. It's a little tricky to precisely rate the top few, but... And it wasn't just the University of Texas. Texas A&M gets a third of the PUF money, and even just that third makes it one of the richest systems in the US. And all the other Texas universities, they've got oil holdings too, they're just less public about it. Baylor, SMU, basically any large Texas university, it's funded off oil money. This here, that's SMU, that's oil money, baby. So, yeah, Dad struck oil in East Texas. The universities struck oil in West Texas, and that's why you're getting a college education.